Hello, everyone, and welcome back to S4K Talks. And today we are discussing the message behind the music. And we have one of our featured bands that we work with at Stand for Kind who go into schools and they spread the message of hope and kindness. So Telehope, guys, we're so happy to have you here. We have James, we have Ben, we have Adolph. Okay, and we also have Trevor Olant, who is an intern with Stand for Kind and a fellow musician, and also my son, on with us today to chat about their mission of hope and how these guys have worked through their goals to get where they are and how they have dealt with the mental health effects of any setbacks. And then we have a very special kindness challenge for you at the end. Okay, guys, we're going to dive right in, and we want to hear about you. We want all of the people that listen to Stand for Kind Talks to understand your mission, your vibe, how you get started. So the first thing is I want you to tell me a little bit more about your name, the Telehope. Where did that come from? I mean, I can infer, but I want to hear it from you. So lay that on us. Tell us about Telehope.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us. First of all, we love Stand for Kind and we love what they're doing and we love working with you guys. So thanks for having us. So we're the band Telehope. We say it sounds like telescope, but it's Telehope. We have been a band for about 7 years, and we had like an old high school band before that, and under a different name. And we were writing songs. We were just kind of writing about what we felt and try to encourage people. And we got a message on Twitter one time that said, from a girl that said she's really, really struggling with mental health. And she heard one of our songs and it really gave her encouragement and kind of a spark to keep going in life. And we read that and we were like, whoa, I didn't know music could be so powerful. Because we were like 18 at the time, like late teens, and like just kind of experiencing what music can do. And we said, you know what, let's change our name. Let's go all in on bringing hope to people, bringing joy and encouraging people. And so I was like, it has to have something to do with the word hope. And so we had bounced around the word like telescope and hope. And I texted Adolph. I was like, what about like something telescope hope? And then Adolph liked kind of that idea, and we were like decided on Telehope. And we believe that there's always hope in the distance, no matter how far it seems. So just grab onto that, and even if it's just a speck in the distance, just grab onto that hope, and we believe it's always there. So that's how we formed our name.
That's such a great story, and it's motivated by wanting to help people, which I think will carry you very far because it's coming from the heart, and that's awesome. Was it scary for you guys to take this leap of faith and go all in?
I think like every day can be scary, but like these are two of my best friends, and we've been best friends for like 15 years. So it's like just having them to support and just the discipline of taking like a little step every single day. It's definitely scary if you zoom out and look at the big picture, but then like every day it's like, well, where do we want to go and how can we take smaller steps to get there?
Love that.
So it would be way scarier without them.
Oh, so having your tribe
for sure. Absolutely.
And you said something really meaningful too. When you zoom out, anxiety can take over, and you can really start perseverating on the what ifs, right? But when you narrow down and you have action steps each day, 1% better, 2% better, 1% closer to my goal, it diminishes some of the anxiety, right? And then you can lean on each other with your relationship for support. So I think that's really, really cool. And that's a really powerful message to people that are listening too. Little steps each day, have a strong tribe around you to help support you. I think that's really cool.
It's so important to have a team of people, have your tribe. Whenever I feel sad or kind of down in the dumps, I'm like, oh, like kind of feeling negative, like, oh, we're never going to make it and things like that. And I have to remind myself, oh, I'm just at home alone right now. I need to go like hang out with the guys or rehearse or something or go on tour. And then it's like, oh, like awesome. I got these guys to, we have a lot of fun together, and it's just like, oh, it's not so like, I don't have to be so stressed about it. It's like, it's fun. We can rely on each other, and we're helping people, and
Yes.
that's what makes it all worth it. So.
And I think you said something that really connects with us is I think you just said like 1% better every day, and you have a tribe. So we actually have a goals group that meets every Tuesday this morning at like 6 a.m. And we all have our like weekly big three goals that we want to accomplish. And then that meeting's together. But then throughout the week, you're setting your daily big three priorities for the day. And so that's not just with Telehope. That's with some other friends that we have as well who do music. But it's been such an encouragement. And it really helps you, just get 1% better every day, and you have your tribe around you kind of rallying around you.
Oh my gosh, James, I'm so inspired by you guys.
That's
You get up
awesome.
at 6 a.m. and have a goals meeting once a week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You do.
It is early.
That is amazing. That just goes to show your passion and drive to be successful. Your mission cannot fail. It will not fail.
Mhm.
You guys are going to make it. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for y'all. That's amazing.
Highly recommend getting a group of people, meeting once a week, just being more intentional about life, just like setting daily, weekly goals, and just like asking people about it, like keeping each other accountable, saying like, how's your exercising going? How's your like spending more time with your family going, and things like that. And it changed my life starting the goals group, and I think it's really helped all of us and all of our friends. We brought our friends into it, and it's just really cool to see people succeed when you have a big group of people around you rooting you on.
That's really cool. So we know how you set goals. Like, how do you guys deal with like setbacks in case there's any like something doesn't go as planned? Like, does your goals group meet and kind of like talk that out? Like, how do you guys deal with that?
It's goal shaming.
We do. No, I think that's part of setting goals, and I mean, life is going to throw you curveballs all the time. And so it's not accountability, in the sense of, oh, you didn't complete your goal, I'm going to goal shame you, even though we sometimes do that. We joke about that. But no, that's part of life. It's not the goalpost moving. It's just things happen and your priorities change. Like earlier in the year, I had my whole list of yearly goals that I thought I wanted to accomplish, and some of those now are just not on the list because Telehope's taken a different direction. We didn't know we were going to go to Utah for 3 weeks. That changes things. So it's kind of just remaining, I guess, adaptable, and you kind of understand that life is never going to go the way that you want it to go necessarily.
But I think like sitting down each week and being very specific and like resetting, every Tuesday morning for us is like our reset day of like, okay, what's the rest of the week look like, and going into the weekend, and just like retouching base is super important. Otherwise you like wake up and you're like, oh, where has this year gone? Like, what have I done? And we can look back through each of our notebooks and be like, oh, this is what I did each week, and these were my goals. And like sometimes it's like I have a house, so my goals this week are very like house issue related. Like there's things I need to get done, like my AC fixed and stuff like that. And it's like, and then in the past it's been like, oh, I want to write a song every single day, and I want to do so just being very intentional with your time, and it's great. And then just having accountability as well.
It was actually really cool because at the very beginning of this year, we always do like a big reset in January, like the first week of January, big reset, reflect on the last year, and then kind of plan what do we want for this year? What at the end of this year, where do I hope we are, and what I wish I had done. And so this year, it was January 1st, and we're like, we have no idea like what we're gonna do, and we were kind of I was feeling kind of like we had done a few years of Telehope, and it was kind of like we were kind of like in a rut. And so this year we were like, you know what, let's go all in on like let's try to change up things, switch up things, do things we've never done before, So we said, for 2 months, let's post on social media every single day and learn how to grow our social media following. And so as soon as we started doing that and like changing our mindset on how we do it um, and kind of be more of ourselves on there, we started growing a lot. And we since the beginning of the year, in about 4 months of doing that, we grew from like 8,000 followers to 250,000 followers.
That's
And
awesome.
so that to us was like, whoa, like we switched things up. And then we had no plans for an album or a tour. And then we said, let's write an album and then let's plan a tour. And so now we just released our album, and we just started our North American tour. And so it's just really cool because that would not have happened if we hadn't just sat down together and been like, okay, what do we want? Let's try some new things, and kind of goals casting, vision casting for the year. So that's just crazy. It's crazy what can happen when you want something and then you set little goals. So for us, it was, let's post like a reel on Instagram or a TikTok every single day. And by doing that, just starting, like you'll want to get better at it, and you'll want to figure out how to reach more people. And so it's not just like posting for the sake of posting, it's posting for sake of reaching people and entertaining or encouraging and things like that. So we learned a lot, and we are somewhere where I did not imagine we would be.
Congratulations. I think that's amazing.
And continuing, sorry, to go back to what Trevor originally said, with like adaptability in your goals, obviously life happens and your goals will shift. But I think setting the goals for the week, for the day, also make it so that if you are faced with some adversity in life, like obviously there's a fine balance between shifting your goals. But then there's some days where life is tough, but at the same time, you know you really need to accomplish that goal. And just having it down and that accountability makes you want to push harder to accomplish that goal instead of just kind of pivoting and maybe saying, oh, I'm just going to switch my goals up, owning it and saying, hey, life is tough right now, but I also really need to accomplish this. So there's a fine line. There's a fine line with that.
I think a lot of it comes back to like just discipline. And I think there's, going back to being musicians and songwriting, I think there's an over romanticized view of inspiration and like what inspiration looks like. And in my experience, and more in our experience, like showing up every day and trying every day is like way more beneficial than waiting to be inspired. I think Ed Sheeran said songwriting is like digging a well. And like there's clean, good songs at the bottom of the well, but you have to get through all the dirt first. Yeah. And like all the dirt is like every day working hard and being disciplined. And then some days you feel super inspired and it's super easy. And then other days you're just digging the well, searching for the song or searching for, whatever it is in life, and just like showing up every day and discipline and setting goals is like way more important than just like hoping something happens.
Wow.
It was really funny last night at the Benson Boone concert. There was a girl in front of me who my friend knew, and she was just starting college, and she sings. And my friend was like, "Oh, I heard you're starting to write music and things like that." And she's like, "Yeah, I am. I'm probably gonna wait like 3 years to release anything, just until I get better." And I'm like, "No, you need to start now. Like in 3 years, you're gonna wish you had started now and like release stuff, because you can always delete music or whatever, but it's about like Adolph said, it's about digging that well and keep practicing, because you're not just going to magically one day be like, oh, I feel ready now. It's like, no, you feel ready by doing it so much that that you become good. It's like practicing riding a bike or a sport. Same thing with writing music.
You guys have no idea how much I could unpack from what you have just said. There are so many beautiful nuggets of wisdom from the three of you that you have just laid out on our audience. It makes me think of like a tree analogy. Like you guys are building a really strong foundation. You're putting in the roots, right? You're putting in the time. Your roots are going down deep. You've found your tribe. You've got your goals. and you're growing. But as you're growing, you're flexible. You're able to move in the wind. But you're staying true. You're going up, right? Like a tree does, goes up. But along the way, you're able to flex a little bit so you don't snap and break, right? So, and I think that is so good for your mental health. You're building so much, self-esteem and awareness and love for one another, and by supporting each other through these processes too. And she was not put in your path for no reason. That young lady was put in your path for a very specific reason, because she needed to hear that message at that time. So that what you never, sometimes you don't know the true impact when you share something like that with somebody, but I would say there was a higher purpose for her crossing paths with you at that concert and getting that bit of advice. So I think that's pretty awesome and super positive. Which I'm curious, like, how do you infuse and stay positive and keep it centered in your music, positivity? How's that work for you? And what's that look like through the creative process for you guys?
We have so one thing that we do is we love talking to our fans, especially after shows, and hearing their stories, because everybody has a story, and a lot are heartbreaking, a lot are just make you want to encourage them. And so I think for me, whenever writing songs, a lot of the times I'm thinking of a specific interaction we had with a fan, or trying to think of oh, this person's story inspired me to encourage them this way through a song, or so for me it's that inspiration through fan interactions. That's mine.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think that a lot of life is like 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond and how you react. And so I don't know. I think I try and see like negative things as a blessing in disguise, and then I try and help that kind of shape our songwriting. But there's also a place for sad music or honest music and heartbreaking music, and that in itself can be hopeful in a weird way, because you're like, you are not alone. So not all Telehope music is everything's great and it's amazing. Sometimes it's like what you're going through is super heartbreaking and really challenging, and we believe in you, and maybe we're going through the same thing, and we know where you're at, and just keep going, one step at a time. Like what Ben said, there is hope at the end of the tunnel, and you just have to take one step at a time. But I don't know. I think a lot of positivity is a choice. And it's like a daily choice every day to be like, even if all this stuff is going wrong, I'm going to choose to smile and, talk to somebody.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a great point, Adolph, because you think the arts are enduring, right? And they last, and music lasts, and it's around, and the world is not always positive. This toxic positivity you're hearing about, sometimes we need to give the big feels space. We need to give them time. We need to sit with them. We need to think. We need to process and allow ourselves to work through those emotions and those situations, so that we do learn the lessons, because it's about the journey, not the destination. And there's so many benefits of that. When you sit with it and you feel it and you listen to the music and you're moving through those emotions, and you don't shut down. That's the point I was getting to. Some people will just push those feelings way, way down and never really deal with them or allow them. But great creativity and learning can come from pain sometimes, and we don't always want to think about that. It's real heavy, but you brought it up, and it's truth. We have to sit with it sometimes, and then sometimes we need the hard, fun and loud and kind, and just super upbeat and light energy to get us where we need to be. So it's a beautiful thing about music, is it can meet us where we are, and it sounds like that's kind of what you're trying to do. And James, what's your take on that question?
On the positivity question?
How do you stay that and infuse it in your music?
I think in general, all three of us are at a 10,000 foot level. I think we're pretty positive people in general. I think part of it is our faith. I think part of it is just our personalities. But I think Adolph really kind of hit the nail on the head where every day it's a choice, and kind of like, wasn't there saying joy is not a choice, but feeling good is a choice, or something like that. You're gonna have days where you don't feel good, but you can still choose joy and still choose the positivity.
Yeah, choose the light. I love that.
Yeah. I think we all just love and have decided to love life, and we decided to pursue what we love, which is music, traveling, and being with fans and being with people and just talking to people. And I think every day waking up knowing that we get to do that is just like, how can we not be joyful while doing that? It's not to say we don't have bad days, but I think we just have a vigor for life. Like we love living.
One thing we do that
I
I
was
just
just
thought
gonna-
about. I know.
I
Here,
was
you can
just-
say it. You say it. Go
Okay.
ahead.
One thing we try and do on the road specifically, we should probably do it at home too. We try and do gratitude checks every day, so it'll just be a random time, like while we're tearing down after a set or tearing down after an assembly or something like that. We'll just say gratitude check, and then we'll just each say one thing that we're grateful for. So that also keeps you. That also helps you keep perspective on life.
It does. It
Oh,
keeps
we did a really fun thing after the last assemblies. We were at our hotel with Pam and Lance Allred and Heather Hewish, and we were all at the ping pong table outside, and we would hit the ball, and then
We would play around the world.
Yeah, you'd like
if you know
run
what that
around,
is.
you'd hit the ball, you'd run, the next person would hit it, like you just run around, and every time you hit it, you would have to say one thing you were grateful for.
Yeah.
And so we did that for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Just like,
It's
it was just
It was
so
fun.
Just, and it's so like, I don't know, it resets you when you just are like, just say all the things you're grateful for and think about all the good things in life.
It's amazing.
That sounds awesome. That's
so
truly incredible. So, with all of that, y'all are hungry for life, which is just a great thing to say. Like, it is, you love living, and music is such a tool to show how you feel and also express how you want to feel. How do you feel that like playing music has affected your mental health and like getting to go to all these places, and maybe not just necessarily the art of like playing music, but also like being places and getting to do everything that Telehope is going to do? How do you guys think that kind of has affected your mental health?
Very positively. So I would say music has had a great positive effect on our mental health. I feel like I'm never happier than I am like on stage singing for people and seeing people's faces just have a huge smile, and like seeing people have a good time and just being really into the moment. That's just so, I don't know, there's nothing quite like being on stage and seeing people light up during a show. So for me, it's been super positive. It also helps me get out every feeling I have when I'm in my studio, just kind of like writing music or writing instrumental things. In my kind of growing up, just writing music by myself, whether it was, whether I was anxious or really sad or happy, every kind of emotion I could write a song and write that and like kind of tuck it away for the day, and like it is a way to release emotion. So it's been really, really good for me in that aspect.
Yeah, I was going to take a step before performance, because Adolph and I were just talking the other day how life feels very weird when we're not creating music. Because we've been in Utah, we've been prepping for our album release show that was on Saturday, and so unfortunately the creative part of it has taken a little bit of a backseat in terms of writing. And I never feel quite as good when I'm not writing and not creating and not just using that force that God's given me. And so life always feels a little bit off when I'm not getting things out through music. So it's definitely something that I try to prioritize, but like we were talking earlier, life takes you a different direction. We're going to go on the road. It's harder to ride on the road. It's not impossible, but it's definitely harder. So that's one thing I definitely want to try and get better at this coming fall is riding on the road, because it's just something I feel like I need to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I would echo what both of them said. Like, there's nothing quite like performing and the connection. Like, I love either performing at a concert or attending a concert of an artist that you like. Like, music just breaks down walls and breaks down barriers, and you can like be at like a Laney concert and just start talking to the person next to you, and then like 10 minutes later you're best friends. And it's just like, I feel like it's such an emotional kind of intimate experience that just like lets you become friends with people really quick. And then for me, writing music is very much like journaling. And so like James said, I always feel a little bit off when I don't have that time alone kind of writing. But touring is so special, and like I'm very much like obsessed with and addicted to writing music. So it's just what I have to do.
It's in your soul. Sounds like
absolutely
it's printed on your soul.
That's awesome.
Ben, you made me
with
think.
That said, I will
cool.
say, with that said, touring is also over romanticized, and it's like super challenging and super hard at times.
Yeah.
But that's why your tribe is so important, because like when you're on the road with your best friends, it's like you can be real with each other and honest, and like I couldn't imagine touring with anybody else and it wouldn't be the same. So when it's really hard, they're always there to support, and my family and everybody at home as well. But
that's awesome. Such wise words. Ben, you made me think of like your perspective. You're like, I have to write it down or I'll forget. So I'm not ignoring y'all when I look down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like actually taking notes because I like don't want to interrupt you, but I don't want to forget. Ben, you framed it like you use music since a young age to process through things. And you know, when you're writing it down and you're creating that music and you're writing that song, you're like processing a lot of emotions. And maybe you didn't even realize that as a kid. But maybe you're just thinking, oh, this is helping me, but you didn't really know on a fundamental level like what it was like doing for your mental health, right? And then James, you talked about you have built such powerful self-awareness with understanding that it is something that is a fundamental need to do. Like you need to do this to be your best self, to be your healthiest version of yourself. And then Adolph, you talked about like connections. Like it's, you know, you're connecting with people and you enjoy that piece of it and talking to the fans. Ben talked about that too. So you guys bring such beautiful perspectives together to create the group. And I think that's amazing. And we're so grateful that you guys are a part of Stand for Kind. And so if you're listening to this and you're not aware, Stand for Kind does school assemblies where we take a team in and we bring the school body together and we do mental wellness lessons. We have a positive message, usually through music or some other facet, but Telehope has been into several schools for us lately. And I just kind of wanted to get your perspective on that setting specifically. When you're in it and when you walk away, what's on your heart?
I would say the school assemblies that Telehope has played have been some of probably our favorite shows we've ever played. Aww. Even though it's 12 to 15 minutes long, just the joy on these kids' faces is just, it's amazing, because I would guess probably 90% or more of these kids have never been to a concert before or seen a band before even. And so just kind of having that experience and helping the kids to just like move around, have fun. You know, early in the morning, it's like it's 9 a.m. and there's a kid crowd surfing. like it's wild. They get it's so fun. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun because what we try to do is we try to get people to engage, so they're not just watching, they are participating. And so I think when you're participating, you feel like you're a part of it. You feel like you're part of something greater and more special, and you're affected in a way that you wouldn't have otherwise been. And so I think our very last school assembly that we played a couple weeks ago, like I said, it was 9 a.m. There's a kid crowd surfing. All the kids just came onto the gym floor, and we were all just jumping up and down together. And it was just, everyone went away with a smile on their face, and like that we view as a huge win.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. You guys want to add anything?
One thing,
good job.
I don't know. One thing, I'll try and keep this short because it's like it's a kind of wide idea. I guess it's like one thing I think about when I'm in these schools is like, we go into these schools and all these kids are so kind. They really were in Utah. Like the kids were great, and they're all so unique and creative. And then I think by the time they're 18, through life experiences, through just peer pressure, through other things, like a lot of kids, and I think we all three were kind of included in this, like you kind of get dulled down in the sense of like creativity, for example. Peer pressure kicks in, and then you might like have an idea and you talk about it and people say, oh, that's really stupid. And then you start to filter your ideas, and then everyone kind of becomes the same shade of gray or something like that, as opposed to, I don't know, we weren't actually raised in a regular school. We all three were homeschooled. Mm-hmm. And so I think we did have more of an opportunity to kind of maybe not go on our own path, but we had some unique doors that were open to us.
We could pursue what we wanted to pursue at a young age.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say that I feel like a lot of the kids are not self-conscious yet, which is like what James was saying. And so they're willing to just express how they're feeling. And then like, because we've played some college shows, and everybody's like, am I allowed to jump?
Well, even between the elementary schools and the middle schools, like you see the elementary school kids are going crazy because they're at an age where they don't really care yet necessarily about what other people are thinking about them, if they're really cool or not.
Yep.
And then we went into one middle school in particular, and it was definitely a lot more tame, and everyone's kind of looking around like, am I allowed to like this? Like, is this cool to like this? And so you even see just in like a 3 or 4 year time span, you can kind of see how like just the overall dynamics are changing between friend groups and just kids in general.
Yeah, so I think playing assemblies, especially for the younger kids, has been really powerful for me, because you just see like the kids just joy for life and just like their perspective. You learn so much from children, I feel like. And it's like so then I start to be like self-reflective, and I'm like, where am I in life where I'm trying to like fit in and I'm not actually being who I am because I'm afraid of what other people are thinking about me. And that goes into a quote that I talk about all the time, literally in like every interview. The guys are probably tired of hearing it, but it's, I don't take criticism from people I wouldn't take advice from.
Love that.
And I think that a lot of people are scared to start something creative because they're afraid of what people might think of it. And like most of the time, like mean comments on the internet, for example, are people don't want your best interest. And so why would I take their advice? Because if somebody's giving you advice and they're further ahead of you in their career, they've been where you've been, and they're going to give you constructive criticism, which is way different than being a hater. Yeah. And so that's something I would encourage for anybody trying to be a creative or just in their regular life, is just to care less what other people think, and just don't take criticism from anybody you wouldn't take advice from. But
I also want to echo what Adolph said. Like when we are playing for the elementary school kids, for example, when we hang out with them and when I look at them in the crowd, I'm like, I want to be like them. Like, and I wish as we grew older, we became more like like 8-year-olds and just had like a love for just like didn't care what anybody else thought, and we danced when we wanted to and we sang when we wanted to, and didn't feel a hindrance or cared what people said.
Yeah.
And so I always go away from those school assemblies feeling inspired to live life a little more freely.
Love that. You guys,
That
so
was
again, so
beautiful.
many things. I know it made me think. Trevor, and you can jump in.
The
I got a couple of things I got to say real fast. Number one,
okay.
what you described so vividly is the pressure to fit in instead of stand out. Is that transition from upper elementary into middle, and then it gets real brutal in high school. If you're not conforming, if you don't become part of a clique, then some people don't feel like they have a tribe. If they're someone who wants to stand out and play their own music and dress their own way, and they have emotional boundaries that they are willing to set and maintain, and a certain level of I will be treated this way or I'm not going to be a part of that group. Some people aren't there yet. They feel isolated, so they're willing to like conform and look to others. Is this cool? Is this not cool? I think it's cool, but I don't value my own opinion enough to stand up and start dancing or whatever. And then, that's the real, very real thing. But I will tell you, Ben, there is hope, because when you get older, you start to care less and less and less about what people think about you, because you become so strong in your walk. And I guess Trevor and I read a lot of fantasy, so it's like your armor gets a lot stronger, and those arrows that get shot at you, they may sting, but they don't penetrate anymore. And I kind of think of social media as that arrow that can really penetrate and hurt and leave wounds. And so we have to like be real careful, like you guys are saying, about how much we're consuming of that negativity and how much we're allowing our porous armor to absorb. Because we want our armor to be porous, because we want the love and empathy and compassion to be able to flow back and forth. But we need that armor in place to help protect us against the arrows that come at us. So the older you get, it does get a little bit easier, I think. That's just my old lady perspective. Trevor, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's like this weird like curve that ends. It's like you peak in high school of being like, I'm so insecure about everything. I can't do anything right. Everybody thinks I'm weird. And then the older you get, the more it's just like, I've lived my life. I'm not, I'm doing my own thing. I don't really care as much. Like, I don't think it's necessarily I mean, it can be for sure. Like you were saying, it's like I am affirming myself, and I've believed this thing for so long that I fully believe. But I think it's just like the emotional awareness of being like, I still believe this exactly as I believed it in high school. But the thing that has changed is that I just care less about other people. Not in that like I don't like other people, but like I am who I am, and I don't have to take that from somebody else. I don't need to be beholden to what the cool kids at lunch think so that I can sit with them. I am, in the UT dining hall by myself, just chilling, just hanging out, watching Batman videos, living my life the way I want to.
Yeah, I went. I was just I went for the first time ever last year. I went to, I think, 2 concerts by myself, because I texted like my group of friends that I kind of go to shows with and love music, and none of them were able to. And so then I had like just seen some reels or something about like how it was weird to go to a concert by yourself, or maybe these people were going to concerts by themselves. And I still thought it was kind of weird, but then I thought, I want to go to this show. I'm not there to go see other people and have them, people watch me. I'm there to go for a show, so I want to see it, so I'm going to go. And so that was fun. Incredible. It was actually really fun.
Great perspective.
I did that. Yeah, I did a very similar thing last year. I saw Disturbed and Avenged Sevenfold at 2 separate concerts, like by myself. It's this great thing, and I was just like, the first one I didn't want to go by myself. The dude canceled last second, so I was like, I guess I'll still go. And sitting in there, I was like, this works. This feels right. This is fun. And I had a great time by myself. And then the next one rolled around, and I was like, nobody will go with me, but I don't care. because I want to go and enjoy the show. It's
We
fully
love
awesome.
live music. We love live music.
Mhm.
Like it feeds our soul
Mhm.
as a family. We very much love live music. And I grew up like
We
I
were
was,
just at the Hootie and the Blowfish concert.
yeah.
Nice.
Oh, so fun.
That was fun.
His
That was a very similar experience that you were talking about. That it was like there was this person behind me, and like they didn't play this one song as they went off for their like the fake ending. And I turned and I was like, they didn't play "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and she was like, they will, and then they did, and like we had this great moment, and I started talking to those people after the show. It was great.
Yeah, they were
Just
cool.
the atmosphere of live
Mm-hmm.
music is great.
Yeah. You guys get to live it all the time. It's so amazing. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm. And then one thing I wanted to say about the like how you were talking about the crossover of like these elementary school kids are so free and they're so joyful, and it's like we are constantly thinking like, oh, these kids need to learn. We have so much to teach them, but they also have so much to teach us, and we can learn so much from their innocence and their joy of they haven't experienced anything, or not that they haven't experienced anything, but like they are unburdened by most things that like being like, oh, I gotta get a job, gotta do all this stuff. Like they're just like so free and so willing to live life, and that's a lesson I think we could all learn from these itty bitty nuggets of wisdom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you did mention a kind of hard reality. Is that you get more burdens as you get older. Because I mean, I graduated college. I lived with my parents through college, and then I moved out. And then you get a job, and then you have to cook meals on your own. You got to take care of your place. You got to do this. You got to do that. And it leaves a lot less time to do the things that you want to do, which for me was I wanted to write music. I wanted to play music. And I'm the last person that should say this because I'm not great at it, but it's so important during those burdened times of life to find ways to like find outlets for creativity, like whether it be just setting 10 minutes aside for something, or just saying this Saturday I'm just going to spend 3 hours writing, and I'm not going to feel guilty that I didn't go to the grocery store. Well, maybe not the grocery store because you need food.
Yeah.
But it's really hard post college life. No one really told me about that, but it is difficult the first couple of years because you're trying to figure out how to make your dreams work with some realities, like you need to make more money, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. Sorry, that was just a little blurb.
No, I think that's so incredibly valid. It is so incredibly valid. And I think that's partly how we can lose ourselves, is we start focusing so heavily on responsibility, which you have to, right? You got to feed yourself. You got to make the money. You got to pay the bills. You got to mow the grass. You got to do those things when you're adulting. Adulting can be hard, especially when you're transitioning into adulting, and you're right. You guys, do you all journal? Because it sounded like I got kind of a vibe. Either you journal, you use journals to write your music, you use it for your goals. Like what? I'm finding the power of it recently, the last year. I always thought it was kind of woo-woo. And then I have been on this like major mental health journey, actually the last 2 years. But the last year I found journaling, and it has been amazing. What's your take?
I think that, for example, here's my version of journaling, is sometimes I'm like so overwhelmed because I have such a long to-do list, and like I'm just stressed out the whole day about it. And then like as soon as I just like write it down or just type it in my phone, I'm like, oh, actually this is super attainable. And it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where it's like you just need to make the first step. And if it's just in your brain, just like it's all messy and crazy, but like as soon as you put it on something else, it's like, oh no, it's just here's the little steps I have to take, and like this is attainable. Whereas like this is really messy. So I definitely do that in my daily life for like to-do lists and like goals, like we were talking about with Goals Group. We each have journals for those. And then as far as like emotional journaling, that's where I think just songwriting is my approach. So I have journals for lyrics and stuff, and it's not like oh, here's my journal of how I'm feeling this day, but ultimately that is what it becomes, just in the framework of songwriting. So that's for me personally.
Yeah.
I think I don't. I haven't journaled my emotions in a long time. For me, my outlet has always been through music, whether it just be instrumental or lyrics as well. But I think in relation to like what's going on in my life, like what do I want to achieve, what are my wins, what are my downfalls, things like that, I use goals group and my journal in that to write that down. But I also do, I would say emotionally, my journal is kind of like I see a counselor, and I'll kind of use that as kind of a journal. And every time need to process something, I'll go to that person and talk it out, which is also has kind of changed my life. It's just a huge way. And I like you can talk to, like I talk to my friends over here about everything, but more specifically, like seeing like a professional like counselor like helps you think about things in a way and process things in a way that is really, really helpful.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I would say I have three kind of main outlets. Ideally, I would be journaling every day, even from an emotional standpoint. I just find that like pretty helpful. I haven't done it in a while, just with the hecticness of life. But in the meantime, I'll substitute. I try and take a walk every day around this lake near my house, and I use that as a time to just kind of think. And I'll kind of have my phone out and just write down, oh, this is something that I need to get done, or hey, I'm kind of feeling this, and I'll just like write or maybe dictate while I walk around the lake, and that's been super awesome. There's just something calming about water, like being near a body of water. I don't know.
Yes.
And then I think through Goals Group that Ben started, and it's just a solid group of guys. So sometimes I'll just text or voice memo or like send a voice note to someone in the group, which I think is just a testament to the type of guys that we have in the group. We're pretty open group in terms of struggles, support that we need, and things like that. I don't think there's really any like major barriers or walls where it's like, whoa, I didn't need to hear that. I think it's a pretty like honest group of guys.
We all tell everybody everything.
Yeah.
And then that's like just being completely honest is just so essential.
Yeah. It sounds cheesy. I know. You're probably going to cringe, but it's your safe space. You're creating a safe space for each other to share and to be vulnerable with each other. And as young men, I think that's incredibly important for you to have that outlet and that safe space to express yourselves. And I have a question for you that's totally off script. It's totally your opinion. There's no right or wrong answer, obviously. But when you guys were talking through that, it made me think that when we hold these feelings and thoughts in our head, we give them so much power. And they build and build and build in our brain and in our hearts. And then when either we say them to a counselor, to a friend, we write them down, we write a song. It's like, in my opinion, from what I've experienced, it takes the power away from whatever that was holding over me. And I've been able to see it in a more objective way. Do you guys ever experience anything like that?
Yeah. I think it's really, really important to call something out and call it for what it is, and not hide from an emotion or something that's going wrong. Or so I think as soon as you put a name to it and call it what it is, I think it immediately has, again, less power. So I think it's such as, talking something out with a friend. I always feel better talking out something that's hard, and it gives light to it, but also gives light to it in a way where it is like, it brings it down, brings it less power. So I personally believe that, yes, talking about something is very, very important. And hiding from something is probably the worst thing you could do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of going off that, sorry, I was looking up a study on my phone because that reminded me of something. So Ben and I are brothers, and our mom had breast cancer, I want to say 5 years ago, which thankfully she's in remission. She's doing great.
Oh, what a blessing.
But yeah, one of the first things she did in her journey was find a support group where you can just go and you just talk like the whole time. There's no, I don't think there's really any itinerary, not itinerary, but agenda.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to go to talk, to get feelings out, to just maybe rant, let loose. I don't know because I wasn't there. But my mom was telling me about these studies that they had done on women who had breast cancer who were part of support groups and were able to just be around people and let things out versus people that were in support groups. And I can't say, I don't have numbers in front of me because I couldn't find it. But yeah, words definitely have power, and being willing to, or being open enough to, just kind of let loose in a way and just say what you need to say definitely has a huge impact.
Interesting.
Mentally and maybe physically in the case of the
Mhm.
studies, but I'm not sure.
Wow, that's very interesting. I'm glad your mom's good and that she's in remission. That's a beautiful thing right there in itself. Trev, do you have any other things you want to ask? I kind of went sideways on our
well,
questions.
I was about to say you went crazy, man.
Well,
We,
they brought up some great points.
they did. There were several moments where I was like, we have all the questions listed out, and like mom would ask a question, and then you guys would hit a question that's like 4 questions down, and I'm like, oh, I got to rearrange. Hang on. Like,
It's fluid.
skipped over the social media question. So you talked about how you guys like did this. We're going to post every day. We're going to try and get followers up. How do you guys think, like, was there anything else you guys did that you think like kind of skyrocketed y'all's social media? And then kind of a little subtext under here is like you guys are spreading positivity through your message. Do you think maybe a part of your increased like happenings on your social media is because people are hungry for positivity?
Good question.
Absolutely. I would say so. At the beginning of this year, when we started going for it more with social media, we also started being more ourselves and kind of showing our funny, like goofy sides of us that we've kind of like hinted at before, but we really embraced that this year with like funny, goofy little skits and videos, just like weird, quirky things that we do, which I think really resonate with people. But the things that I think people really have resonated with are the authenticity of who we are. In addition to, we have like lots of calls to action along with that. So it's like, hey, we've done videos where it's like, hey, we respond to every single comment on this post, or and we're doing something like silly in the video, or like, hey, my mom just found our Instagram account, like act totally normal in the comments, please. And just like really calls to action to very specific things like, hey, if you follow us, then we'll send you a voice message of our band. Things like that, which I think people are hungry for. I think they're hungry for authenticity. I think they're hungry for positivity and just kind of feeling included.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten probably hundreds of thousands of messages in the past few months on Instagram. We can't read them all, but the ones that we do read, everyone's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you responded to me. Or I've never had a famous person respond to me. And we're like, we're not famous, but we try to respond to as many people as we can. And yeah.
Along those lines, unless a comment or message is like really, really, really negative, hateful, whatever word you want to say, we usually don't respond to those comments or messages with more negativity.
Good for you.
We haven't gotten a ton of hate comments.
We've gotten a lot.
We've gotten a lot. But they're so fun to interact with because we usually spin them. Like, we just spin them like right on their heads, and we'll like make a joke or something. And we've gotten so many people who have started off a conversation with a hate comment to come back and say, hey, I listen to your music and I actually really like it. And so it's just fun to use that positivity and just turn the hate comments kind of on their head, and then they end up liking what we're about. So that's cool.
It's really, really fun because nobody expects it when somebody like leaves a comment or messages saying, hey, your music sucks or something like that. And we respond with some like witty,
Here's like
comment
either random example would be like if somebody's like, your music's trash, you like respond like, oh well, as a raccoon, thank you so much, that's a huge compliment. And then they're like so caught off guard, and then it's like, oh
Yeah.
cool.
They're like, that was actually funny. I'm gonna actually check out your music. Oh my gosh, it's actually good, or whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
we love turning the negativity into positivity.
Love that you guys are taking
That's
the high
awesome.
road. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh.
Because also, as Adolph said, like, we wouldn't take criticism from somebody we wouldn't take advice from. So
Right.
we don't give them and those hate comments any power to
Yeah.
our, to us, because we don't know them. It could be
Could be a bot.
It could be a bot.
Could be a bot.
But I will say that like hate comments used to really, really bother me.
Sure.
And so like this isn't something that it hasn't always been this way. So like if somebody's listening and you're a creative and hate comments bother you and you're like, these shouldn't bother me, just know like it's a journey, and it's taken like 7 years to not be affected by hate comments.
You've built your armor. It's gotten thicker.
One
Yeah,
thing,
so just keep working on it.
one thing I've learned in that sense is I listened to a podcaster named Dr. John Deloney, and he is incredible. But one thing he says is decide who you are going to give the power to hurt you. And so everybody can't hurt you. That's just, you need to not let everybody hurt you, and you need to give specific people the power to speak into you, if it's criticism, or like for me, it's these guys and my wife. And like those people, if they tell me something, I'm going to listen, whether it's good or bad. But a random comment on the internet, they don't have that power to influence my life. And
we know bullies like an imbalance of power. They like to take your power. They like to exploit your power for their own hate or their enjoyment, their dopamine dump, whatever it is. So maintaining your power, standing strong in your power does take time to develop it off. I mean, you're right. And, Ben, you're absolutely right too. I mean, and just on a side note, I wrote authenticity. You can't see it twice. As you've been talking, that's why I giggled a little when you said the authentic piece. I was like, you guys you are walking in your true selves, and you're modeling that authenticity. And when you became very real with your followers, look what it brought to you, more positive than negative. So that's a great lesson for everybody. So, Stand for Kind Talks, so excited to have Telehope on today. James, Adolph, Ben, you guys are amazing. Trevor, thank you for being here with me to be my co-pilot today. It's been really special for us to learn your mission and hear your story. And I just see great things for each of you in the future. And I just wish you all the love and joy and kindness that your hearts can hold.
Thank you, Candy.
Thank you
so
much
much for having us.
You're welcome.
Ciao.